For dog lovers, one of the most iconic animal or dog film is White God, which featured over 200 dogs on screen at the same time. I know that you were the one who trained these animals as well. How was it possible to move that many dogs through downtown Budapest, the capital of Hungary, populated by 2 million people, without any issues?
It all started when several people approached me from different directions with the news that there would be a domestic film featuring a lot of dogs. Cornel Mundruju, the director of the film, came to us and we started talking about the task. Initially, the plan was to coordinate 20 dogs together. A week later, we met again and showed him how those 20 dogs could run in an organized way from point A to point B. After seeing that, the request was raised to 40 dogs. We did it with 60. When Cornel saw that 60 dogs could be handled without any problems and how great it looked, we started talking about 100 dogs then, he says. I was the one who suggested it. I remember it the other way around. It changed to 200. This started a very serious process of preparation. We gathered dogs from the trainer team's own stock and began cooperating with 3 shelters. At first, we trained the dogs at the shelters. The main character was brought from the United States by Teresa Miller, who comes from a prominent animal trainer family. Her father, for instance, worked with his dogs in the movie Beethoven. The hardest part was figuring out how to combine all these different dogs, how to socialize them, females and intact males, so they wouldn't fight. The biggest challenge was figuring out what would prevent them from clashing, how to avoid rivalry that could have ruined the entire film. We had 4 months to prepare, and even during this time, it became clear how well things were coming together when the teams from Vok and Budawers arrived. And we started letting the dogs mingle. It felt like a river flowing into the sea, like a flood, their tails held high. We felt like the whole field was rising from happiness. 15 of us watched as these dogs enjoyed their freedom, the companionship of the pack, and the joy of the task. Their eyes started to sparkle. Even the broken ones, who came from shelters with emotional trauma, began to open up and grow, quite literally. For this to work, the dogs had to grasp something very important. We established a set of rules they had to follow. It was a very comfortable situation for them because it lifted a huge burden of decision-making from their shoulders. Within that system, fighting simply wasn't a valid choice. If 2 dogs had started fighting, it could have escalated into 40 or 60 joining in within minutes. Even during training, we had lots of funny and memorable moments. For example, we went to a lumber yard to do our first large group run from a hall across the yard. I asked my friend Marzi why he let the dogs go even though I hadn't whistled yet. "But you did whistle," he replied. Turns out, a parrot had imitated the sound of the whistle from a window. Something very similar almost happened at the Botany Eternal Flame, where 200 dogs were waiting to start in a holding pen. A local police officer was trying to direct traffic with his whistle. Immediately, 3 trainers jumped on him, and 5 others held the box door shut so the dogs wouldn't take off. That's how strongly conditioned they were to the sound of a whistle when they had to run through winding streets, making turns among people. The trainers were dressed as extras and blew whistles from different spots, silencing and sounding them again. And the dogs performed perfectly. We had 7, 8 lead dogs who had already walked the routes in advance and led the pack. The others didn't fall behind or wander off. No one was left behind. It all worked out. It was an intense experience, but extremely exhausting. The shoot lasted 3 months. In total, 285 dogs appeared in the film, but only 200 were on set at once.
What happened to the dogs after filming?
At the end of the filming, together with the production team, we created a detailed portfolio. Every dog was photographed individually. We wrote a short profile for each and started looking for adoptive owners after the shoot. They were adopted very quickly, which even surprised the animal welfare folks. But the reason is simple. There are always people looking to adopt dogs. They're just waiting for the right one. Of course, they're going to take the dog that doesn't have to be chased around, that's trained, healthy, and ready to go. We only asked one thing from the adopters. Don't take them to football matches. If the referee whistles, the dog will start running. A few years ago, an old lady selling pickles approached me in the market hall. "You're Árpád Halász, right?" I said yes, while I was just looking at some cucumbers. "We adopted one of those dogs," she said, "because it was my husband's dream to be able to walk a dog off leash in retirement. And guess what? It came true." Thank you so much. I thought to myself, yes, we placed that dog in the right home.